Maybe you're just like me and have started picking up old hand planes at every opportunity. Well, recently I was at a car boot sale and I came across this Stanley Number 4. £20, I thought, give it a go. It has definitely seen better days. There's quite a lot of pitting, quite a lot of rust, especially on the blades. And the sole's got quite a few marks on it as well. So quite a bit to do, but let's see what we can do with this and see if we can get this into some good working order. Okay, so here it is in all its glory. And as you know, the first stage in any restoration project is taking the price sticker off. Looking better already. I don't know what they've used this lever cap for, shooting practice or something. That's definitely seen better days. But looking at the sole, yes, there's a bit of grime on it. There's some stuff stuck to the bottom, but actually I think underneath it, it's not too bad condition. Similarly with the blade, yes, on the top there's quite a lot of rust on the blade and the chip breaker, but actually down the business end, it doesn't look too bad, so it shouldn't be too much work to get this back nice and sharp. Just having a look at the blade here, it's obviously really, really close, so it's difficult to see, but I'll have a proper look at that later when I take it all apart. Frog, a little bit of rust on there, but actually looking not too bad condition at all. So let's get this thing taken apart. Now a lot of people when they restore planes, they take the handles, they sand them all the way back, and they make them really, really nice and shiny. That doesn't really bother me. These things are perfectly good, perfectly functional, and that's good enough for me. So looking at the sole, yeah, there's a bit of crud stuck on there, but actually this looks in pretty good nick, so pretty happy with this purchase for £20. Shouldn't be too much work to get this back. Now on to the important bit, the blade. Let's see what that looks like and how much time I'm going to have to spend sharpening this sucker. So actually not too bad, looks pretty level. There's a little bit of a nick over here. It won't take too long to get that out with a secondary bevel. Pretty happy. Definitely going to lose these small parts, so let's get these put away while I still know where they are. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of some of this thick rust. WD-40 just helps lubricate things. It also keeps the dust down, so that's always great to just minimize the amount of rust that you're inhaling on a day-to-day basis. But this won't take too long, and I'm just going to take the thick off, and we're going to be dealing with the more ingrained rust a little bit later. And after about 30 seconds of sanding, it's looking better already. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain. And then the chip breaker is going to get the same treatment. So if we're dealing with the sole, you're going to need something flat. A lot of people use a piece of granite. I'm going to use a piece of glass. Wonder how long this survives. WD-40 just to keep the dust down, and then we're just going to take that quick first pass. We're not really worried about flattening at this stage, we're just trying to get down to the bare metal and see what we're working with. There is something satisfying about starting to see this come back from the dead. Look at that difference. This is after about 2 minutes. Now everything's been cosmetic so far, but this is the part that matters. So let's see what we can do with this. Same again, we are not really worried about getting this flat, we're just trying to get down to the bare metal and see what we're working with. Whatever's stuck to that side isn't really going anywhere, but I'm not going anywhere either, so I'm going to take my time. So now that we took the thick off, I'm going to sit everything in a bit of vinegar overnight for about 12-18 hours, something like that. Picked this up really, really cheaply. I think I paid £1 for the vinegar, and I recycled a milk bottle. Hashtag thrifty. Just taking apart the frog properly so all the bits can get proper exposure. And this vinegar is just going to eat through some of that rust and just let it all bubble off overnight. Whoever's doing the packaging for hazelmere vinegar takes their job very seriously. It took me forever to get into this bottle. I used a screwdriver, then I needed a blade, but I got in. So when I came back the next day, you could see how much rubbish came off it, so it's obviously done its job, and we are going to be able to see where we're at now. And as you can see, whatever was on that sole that stood up to the 80 grit sandpaper obviously comes straight off with the vinegar, so that is looking much better. So I don't want to just rely on wiping off the vinegar, so what I'm going to do is just put it back into a bath of cold water with a bit of baking powder, and that will just neutralize the acid to stop it continuing to eat through things. So just a quick job and a swirl with the magic finger. Now that everything is out and been dried off properly, it's time to start thinking about flattening the sole. So what I'm going to do is just put some pencil marks all over the sole of the plane, and then we're going to give it a couple of passes on this 80 grit sandpaper to see if we've got any hollows and see how flat we're working with. As you can see, the toe and either side of the sole has rubbed off, but we've got quite a big hollow in the middle, so we're just going to keep going until we get that one down and we get even wear on the bottom of the plane. Getting better, but you can still see that little hollow just about here. As you can see, I've changed direction because I've got some tape under there, so I want to avoid the tape and go nice and flat across when sanding the sole to get it super flat. Then all I'm going to do is just smooth off these corners. We don't want the corners dinging any of the work that you're doing, so just to round off those edges a little bit. Then again, I'll do the same thing just with the toe. And once again, that's just to idiot proof this thing and just make sure that I'm not going to take any big dents accidentally. Now we need to start thinking about getting this thing sharp. My preferred method is diamond stone. This one has a 400 grit side and a 1000 grit side. I'm just going to chuck this thing up in a honing guide, establish that primary bevel, and get to work. Now, as I'm starting from scratch essentially on this blade, and God knows when the last time this thing was sharpened is, it is taking me a little bit longer just to establish that primary bevel, but it's worth spending the time making sure you get a nice even bevel all the way across. When I'm checking this one, it looks slightly out of whack. It's not fully straight all the way across, but we are getting there. As you can see, it's just not quite hitting the front on that left hand side. So we're just going to keep going until we get a nice even bevel all the way across the top of the blade. I'm then just going to flip the blade over while it's still in the honing guide, get it really low to the diamond stone, and just take a couple of passes just to take off the back of that burr that will have inevitably formed with all that scraping. Doesn't take much to take this off, so don't have to spend ages on it. Once I'm happy with that, I'm now going to add a secondary bevel onto it just by attacking it with a steeper angle, adding a tiny little bevel on the end, and sharpening up again. Same process, but this one will go much quicker because we're only taking off a tiny bit from the end of the blade. As you can see, I'm just checking the honing guide. I'm going to move it forward till I get an angle I'm happy with. I'm not going to measure it, just go by eye. And you'll just see that new bevel just glinting on the end there. Really tiny, but that's what's going to give us that sharpness that we're looking for. Same thing again, once we've done that, we're just going to flip the blade over and just remove the burr as well. Now I can tell this thing is feeling sharp already. The last stage in the process is just to then hit it with some stropping compound and a leather strop. Fun fact, I paid more for this leather strop and stropping compound than I did the actual plane. Was expecting a bit of a bigger strop. That's the chance you take when you buy things off the internet. Don't know why I feel like I need a bigger strop. Just felt really small for 30 quid. And it wouldn't be a hand plane restoration video without a shave test. Look at that. Prove it wasn't a fluke. Nice. Now to remember how this thing goes back together. First of all, I'm going to add the chip breaker back to the blade, and then just advance it just so it's possibly about 1mm away from the end of the blade. Or a 1/16 of an inch if you're that way inclined. Now it's time to remember to add the screw that helps advance the blade. I swear people must have had smaller fingers back then. And then sit the frog on it. Looking good. Screw down the frog. Do you ever get a feeling you're missing something? It's not the blade and chip breaker, something else. When you put the blade in, just check it's out of the way before you go clanging it down on the desk again. I'm putting the front knob on. Once again, I haven't bothered to fix this, clean it up. It does the job, it's fine. Ah. But by taking the blade out and moving the lateral adjuster out the way, you can just about squeeze the back handle on. And the lever cap, I've not really done anything to, but it's absolutely pitted beyond belief. But this repair is more about getting this thing to work well, rather than looking like a brand new plane. A few dings shows character. Now this thing looked really sorry for itself when I picked it up. It was absolutely covered in rust, but it didn't take a huge amount of work to get this back to a full working order. Hopefully this is going to be a really valuable tool for me for a long period of time. And does it take a shaving? Yeah, it takes a shaving. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. See you in the next one.